Hey, peace and blessings to whoever may have come to, I don't know, this part of the internet at this time, wherever you might see this at. It could possibly be what it could possibly be. This is actually a live event, so it's happening right now on Facebook. But if my plan, if things go as planned, it may end up in other places. It is actually a video. This is my break time, so I'm taking a break real quick. And a lot of times people have food during their break, and sometimes for me, I have food for thought, which results in conversation. And as I mentioned, I got a camera on here, so you may be seeing this on platforms that allow you to see that, which is like Facebook. It'll be like 30 minutes, so Facebook, possibly Instagram, YouTube, and wherever else that it might be video, but then it just could be audio. So I will take that into consideration. And today's topic is pretty serious, and for what that's worth, I try to do this every Friday, or I have been doing it every Friday, but this may change to Saturday, or at least that is my thought. I would like to change to Saturday and change locations where I can have a little more flexibility in the tools that I have at hand. Right now, yeah, I got some tools. I got a couple monitors, a mouse, headphones, and everything, which is cool. But I want to be able to do some other things. So today's topic is, I guess I could say it's a little bit about depression, end of life, and something that folks have, I don't know, I guess started calling self unaliving. It seems like there are some trigger words that, if you use in the description of your content, or if you use verbally, that causes content to be flagged. So I'm going to try to be cautious on how I use the terminology. And I'll just share with you all that, a little personal kind of issue is that I've gotten older, like we all have. And as you get older, a lot of times there are certain things that come to mind that might not have come to mind, 40 or 50 years ago, depending upon how old you are. But as the decades kind of trickle on by, you start to think about that end of life. Like, okay, well, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? Who am I leaving behind? And all those kinds of thoughts kind of creep in. And I know that sometimes, depending upon your situation, at least I can speak for my own, that sometimes we just get tired. There's a lot of things going on at the time of this recording that, if I was a lot younger, I would probably be a lot more active, a lot more, maybe even angry, or I am not sure of what my mood would be. But when and if things come up that are challenging, I rise to the occasion. I step up. And it just kind of reminded me of a routine by Dave Chappelle. And Dave Chappelle, a couple of years back, and my memory could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was about when George Floyd was killed, and a lot of people were upset. A lot of people did a lot of things, and Dave, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but Dave Chappelle did his routine, and he he kind of stepped back and said that there are some people out there that are active and that are doing something about it, and he said he was going to take a step back and allow them to handle it. And sometimes that's where I'm at, that I might feel like I want to express something or do something, but I think back on like my own life, and that the world that I say this a lot, the world that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. And so a lot of things that I used to do may or not may or may not be relevant in today's society. Even the simplicity of what of since I'm kind of in the entertainment field in some respect, sometimes doing these parties or whatever, like we would have flyers that we print out and hand out, be out on the street. You had a street team. And the street team would have to go out and hand people paper documents like, hey, look, here's a party that we're doing. And more times than I could actually believe, if you handed someone a piece of paper, they would push back and say, what is this? And I would say, it's a flyer about a party. What party? It's like right on the paper they're holding and looking at. Well, and I'd have to like basically recite what was on the flyer before they would either take it or take interest. And sometimes even when doing that, if you keep an eye on somebody, I remember I was outside of Kroger's one time and handing somebody, our local grocery store, hand somebody a flyer like, hey, blah, 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 we're doing this party. And they say, oh, thank you. And then I looked and, maybe as they walked up the sidewalk by Kroger's, it was quite a distance, maybe 50, maybe even 100 feet, but I just kind of watched, and they got to the nearest trash can and just threw the flyer in the trash. But I say that to say that, now it's all digital. Everything's online. And you can make a flyer and put it online and share it with 1,000 people with just a click. And so I bring that kind of up to the forefront because the world that like I said, the world that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. So in the same way that I'm handing out paper flyers, that may not be an effective way to promote some event that can be done digitally with the click of a mouse. So if I bring up a particular topic like end of life or self-unaliving or depression based upon where I grew up, the tools that I have may not be effective. And I recognize that. I recognize that in theory, you should probably continue your education in any way that you possibly can so you could potentially have the tools that will work for you today. And so I remember there was a time when I can't say a DJ friend, but I say a friend of a friend was he just stopped his own life. And I didn't know him personally, but a lot of the friends that I have that I do know personally, a lot of DJs that I associate with, a lot of people in the entertainment field that I associate with knew him personally. And I saw and felt the pain in their eyes and in their words online, and just the city was shook. And it was very unfortunate because it didn't seem like at the time that people saw it coming, saw the clues. And I don't know if there were any clues. And no disrespect to the family at all or his friends, because I don't have enough information about it. All I know is his life ended and people were sad. And because of the amount of sadness, we kind of came together. And I say we came together that I'm in a group called the Midwestern Disc Jockey Coalition. And it's about 100 DJs all over Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And we got resources. You call somebody and they might have hey, well, I got a speaker for you, or hey, I got a microphone for you, or hey, I know somebody. And so we kind of took advantage of the little networking that we had, reached out to a club owner who offered us up a night for free. And we reached out to a couple of different people who were able to just provide assistance. And we had a couple of guests out there that came to the event. And we had an assistant professor of human social services technology. And we had people out there to answer questions. We got with the the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Wow, I said that buzzword there. And they sent us some materials, and we were able to come together in a club, and we were able to promote it. And if I remember right, and if it wasn't this particular event, I know Lonzo Coppins has been kind to our organization, and if it wasn't this particular event, we did another event, a Stop the Violence event, and Lonzo Coppins was able to, from Hot Cards, was able to print out. So we're still back in. This was 8 years ago, so we're still back in the, hand out flyers kind of stage, and but we did a big promotion about this to try to get people to come out who may be hurting or maybe looking for answers, and we tried to have folks come out there that could be helpful. And so wherever you're watching this out, I hope that I'll have a link to that longer discussion, that the discussion with multiple people. And I'm pretty sure it was a YouTube link, and I'm pretty sure that it is about 2 hours long. But you get to hear more voices, and instead of just me. Yeah, that is correct. I just checked. It's an hour and 55 minutes actually. It's audio only, but it's on YouTube, and I'll have that link in the comments or in the description of wherever you see this at. But I'll tell you, it was a moving event where people spoke, and I think the thing for me that was most moving in that particular situation was that, we had this idea, and we wanted to try to reach out and try to help. And it might have been around the time that there was some election happening, and I remember just kind of reaching out and thinking that maybe someone who's visible in the public eye could come out here and maybe say a few words. And so I reached out to someone, and at this point they'll remain nameless. They are actually in the description of the YouTube video, but I'll leave that up to you all if you want to look for it. And again, it'll be in the description here. But I kind of thought that just maybe somebody that's recognizable in a different field, and you know how, like, whoever you might be, that if you're watching this, you know how you have your circle of friends, and I don't know if I'm in that circle, but everybody has their own different circle, and sometimes those circles intertwine or overlap. But again, I thought that, hey, this person is high profile and visible to different folks than myself. So I reached out, and they immediately said yes. And he and his wife showed up, and it was quite, I'll say, really awkward for me at a moment, because I was thanking them for coming, and I was saying that, we got a table set up where you can put your materials, which my thought was that they would have cards or sheets that show how you can either get in contact with them or how to vote for them in that upcoming election. It was a local election. And as I was talking to him, the wife just had a look on her face that was just kind of odd to me. And I'll tell you, I love them both dearly. Dearly. And the wife was just kind of puzzled, looking at me, and she looked at her husband, and she said, he doesn't know. And then she was talking about me, that I didn't know. And I was like, no, what? And in my heart, I was just reaching out to him as, like I said, as a public figure. And I hadn't really known him that long, and I didn't know their history. And I didn't realize, and I found out at that moment when they came to a session where we were talking about depression and ending your own life. I didn't know that they had a son who had ended his own life. And when they told me that, like right there, she said, he doesn't know. I just felt, I told somebody the other day that that I'm immune to embarrassment, but I just felt like I had unknowingly and potentially opened a wound, and I felt so foolish. I felt so foolish for asking them, not knowing that their son had ended his own life. And I just reached out and I hugged him, and I apologized. I felt like I was opening a wound that unknowingly didn't need to be opened, or unknowingly opening a wound that may not need to be opened. And they were kind, gracious, and loving, as they are just naturally, and said, no, 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 it is a great opportunity for us to talk about this. And in that moment, it was some relief for me to a certain extent. But you never know what people are going through. And even in this, even in the simplicity of what of sending somebody a text message. You send somebody a text message, or you invite them to something or whatever. You never know what's going on the other end. You float out a text message, and it's funny how people respond. That if you live in a world where you texting all day long and people are texting back and forth with you, and you text somebody and then they don't respond. Well, like right now, if my phone, I got one phone here and I got another phone in my bag over there. If somebody's trying to text me, I'm not getting it because I'm sitting here with you. You know what I mean? But that night, like I said, when I hugged him, I cried, and there were some moving moments throughout that night. And we got it on audio. I don't know if the audio really communicates the mood of that evening. But I also think that I I bumped into a class since in my job I'm often in and around classrooms, and I bumped into a class that was talking about ending your own life, and it made me think of this event that we had 8 years ago, and I had already thought about touching on this anyway, and maybe maybe the Lord moves in mysterious ways, and put something on my heart and in my spirit that made me want to just have a little conversation about it. And one of the things that I often ask people, I said, "What's your favorite food today?" And they might tell me, and I said, "Well, what's your favorite food tomorrow?" Well, tomorrow hasn't gotten here yet. And the message behind that, or the thought behind that, is that if you don't make it till tomorrow, you might not be able to taste that brand new food. If on today you haven't had creme brulee, and then tomorrow you get into a situation where you get creme brulee, and now all of a sudden that's your favorite food. Well, if you didn't make it into that next day to get that creme brulee, then you may not never ever experience it. You may not ever know what your favorite food is, because it may be next week that you get it. And I use that favorite food, for the most part everybody eats. So it's cross denominational. But sometimes people ask me, "Hey, how you doing?" I say I'm elevating. And if we got enough time, I'll do my little spiel. I'm elevating. I woke up, you woke up, we woke up. If yesterday was bad, we got to wake up and try to make it better today. So, We had a great time that evening. It was therapeutic. We had all the people in the house that I felt like needed to be there. And that was back in 2016. It was at the VSP Lounge in Springdale, Ohio. And every now and then I bump into a person, a situation, or a conversation that is unexpected. I happened to be driving a vehicle a couple weeks back where the gas gauge is kind of funny acting. And what we suspect is that the float in there, or at least what I suspect, that the float in there, and if you don't know, in your gas tank, you got a float. And that thing kind of floats up as you put gas in it. And in theory, that's what kind of tells you as you put the gas in it, just like your gas gauge goes up, unless you're driving an electric car. But the float goes up, the gas gauge goes up to indicate how much gas you have in the tank. And what I suspect is that thing is bent. And so it gives you false hope. And it shows you might have a quarter tank of gas when really you're on empty. But it just so happened that I ran out of gas and I was able to pull into, not that it matters, but a McDonald's. Yeah. Yeah, the my man just checked in, and Aaron Black, the number one bartender in the greater Cincinnati, in the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. And that is correct. He asked, was it the VSP Lounge? Yes, it was the VSP Lounge where we had that, and it had that forum about depression and ending your own life. And so I was at this, again, ran out of gas, right? Ran out of gas, and I just happened to be in front of a McDonald's, and I was able to get that car to the side of the road. I coasted into the McDonald's parking lot. And I went inside. I didn't have to, I guess, but I went inside and talked to the people at McDonald's and said, hey, look, my car is broke down right there. I think I'm just out of gas, and I just want to let you guys know so you don't call the police and have me towed. I'm going to go down to the gas station, which was it's about 2 blocks away. But it was cold. It might have been 8 degrees that day. I don't know. It was freezing cold, right? And so I walked down to the gas station and, don't have a gas can. So I had to buy a gas can and put like $5 worth of gas in it and walk back up. And as I'm putting gas in the car, I see another guy walking with a gas can. And he said something like, oh, man, this is contagious. I was like, oh, yeah, man, it is. But I put the gas in the car, and he just kept walking. And I wasn't sure if that was what the problem was, but I put the gas in the car, and it started right up. Well, it takes the fuel pump a little time for the gas to get to, anyway. So it started up. And I had seen that guy walking, and I know how cold I was. He ain't had no gloves or nothing like that. So I drove down, and I was going down that way anyway because I only put gas was in the tank. And so I drove down to past where he was walking. Again, it was only 2 blocks. Blew my horn. Hey, man, hop in. And so drove him down to the gas station. I was, where's your car at? We just had, a little conversation, and went down there and filled up his gas tank, and filled up the vehicle I was driving, and then I was able to drive him back to his car. And I just say that not that was, what a thing. Like, I didn't necessarily I didn't save any kids from drowning. You know what I mean? I didn't pull anybody out of the, that might trigger somebody. I don't necessarily like that I said that. and you know who you are if you're triggered. And I'm sorry for saying that, but let's reword that. I don't think that what I did was that necessarily monumental. By what did I do? I just picked up a guy who was cold like me and took him to the gas station to his car, and I gave him my gloves too. I had two. Not that it matters that I had two pair, but I just gave him my gloves. 'Cause I saw he had no gloves, man. It was freezing out here. I think it was 8 degrees. And all I'm saying is that all of that happened was just completely unexpected. While we were at the gas station, a buddy of his who was a mechanic, I guess they worked together or something like that, pulled up at the gas station next to us. Just a fluke. I don't know if he called him or whatever. And so when we drove back up to his car and he put the gas in it, it still wouldn't start. And I was there helping. I gave him a jump, which a jump wouldn't have helped because the car was so it had good cold cranking amps. You know what I mean? Fun fact, if you are in your car and it doesn't start, but it's doing like gas and diesel, just saying, not an electric car. But, if you got that kind of engine and it's doing that, it's not the battery. In most cases, because that means the battery is strong. The battery is doing what it needs to do to turn the starter. And he did that for a while. I think we were there for 10 minutes, and it was disappointing that it wasn't starting, that it wasn't just out of gas. And then his buddy, the mechanic, showed up. And so that was my chance to all right, your mechanic friend's here, I'm out. But I say all that there's so many spinning plates. This is I'm moving my hands around like I'm spinning plates, but there are so many spinning plates that are out there sometimes and so many incidents and scenarios that intertwine in some kind of way. And if you're not here to be part of that entanglement, if you're not here to be part of this big puzzle, then there'll be a missing piece. If I hadn't ran out of gas, if I hadn't woke up that morning and ran out of gas, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to run that guy down to the gas station and to have his mechanic friend meet, and just all the things that happened potentially wouldn't have happened if I didn't wake up. So if you're out there, if you're depressed, if you're thinking of ending your own life, I just want you to know that somehow, somewhere, some way, you're a piece of this puzzle. And we need you to put your piece in place where it needs to be. Because without your piece of the puzzle, the whole puzzle is incomplete. We need you. If I didn't wake up today, I wouldn't get a chance to talk to you about this. And if you didn't wake up today, maybe you didn't get a chance to hear it. I hope somebody hears this that just has a chance to think about that. I don't know. Am I trying to save the world? I've told you many times that this may be therapeutic just for me. Just for me to get some of the things out. Other people have food for thought. I have food for conversation. Wait, other people have food at lunchtime. I have food for thought. Food for conversation. I am a volcano of conversation waiting to erupt at any given moment. And so at this moment, I am erupting. And again, I can't say it enough. I'm erupting for you, about you. You are a piece of the puzzle. We need you to be able to put your piece in place, or the puzzle is incomplete. We love you too. We need you. Look, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to try to alter my outro just a little bit because I was thinking about it. And I think it has something to do with these 5 fingers. So that's what I used to say on it when I'd end my radio show that I used to do back in the 80s and 90s. Stay black till we get back. Stay white. It's all right. whether you black, white, yellow, red, or brown, we're all one race, the human race, under one God. Until we meet again, my brothers, my sisters, peace. I love you. I'm out. Assalamu alaikum.